What is going on, guys? All right, as always, we are brought to you by BUSR Sportsbook. Bet on everything from horse racing to the 2020 election. Visit busr.com/going-for-2 to sign up, get a welcome bonus, and bet on this weekend's games. We had an awesome week last week, guys. We're hoping to repeat that again this week. It is week 7. We got tons of value to open up today, so stay tuned.
Fantasy football, you dealing with the best. Keep it hype, authentic, this ain't nothing like the rest. With the Armchair Fantasy Show podcast, give advice for all the listeners to improve your stats. Yeah, we live on goingfor2.com. Tuesdays and Fridays, this is what you want. Talking dynasties and daily drafts, and we just getting started, that ain't even the half. Yeah, so go ahead, tell your friends to join. Going for 2, cause no one remembers the extra point. Hey, goingfor2.com, the Armchair Fantasy Show.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 175 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are presented by BUSR.com, like I said at the top, and we are here every Wednesday and Friday night, Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch on all major podcast networks and streaming in the Going for 2 app for iOS and Android. I'm here with my two co-hosts tonight, Gerson and Tim. Gerson's a little under the weather, man. How you doing, Gerson? You holding in there?
Yeah, I'm trying to survive. Just feeling. I know I have the flu based on the temperature I have, but just a little weak. But I mean, I didn't put all my effort for the week for no reason, right?
All right, Tim, man, how you doing tonight?
Oh, man, I'm back at home, as you see, in my downtown Dallas apartment. I left Vegas behind, but I managed to leave Vegas in one piece, and I had my wallet. So I figured that's always a win. I managed to get back on the plane.
Nice. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. All right, like I mentioned,
I'm really looking forward to this slate, Jeff, man. It's crazy.
This
is one of the craziest slates I can remember, ever.
It's funny because I was doing my sheet last night, and I'm like, man, it seems very chalky. Everything's chalky. And then today, everything just changed, and everything became that was chalk is no longer chalk.
It's my fault.
Wait.
It's actually my fault. Tell the story, Jay.
Okay. Came around like 11 o'clock, I believe. I said this was like one of my favorite slates and whatnot, and Tim's like, this is there's low value. I'm like, what? In my head, I was like, there's already value. I had a lot of value plays. And the next thing you know, if you have Sleeper, it's the best app ever. It will break any news to you. Next thing you know, we have like 6 players. We won't name them right now because we'll be talking about like 6 players out, questionable, game time decision out, yeah. COVID-19. I'm like, oh, Tim, be careful. I'm like, Tim, is there value now?
Yeah, definitely.
Too much value.
Tons of value. All right, let's do the rewind real quick.
The Weekly Rewind. Rewind.
All right, Tim, how'd your week go last week?
I did well, man. I did really well in cash games. Even though I made a dumb pivot Sunday morning to get off of David Montgomery, it didn't cost me. I still cashed in all my cash games. Did pretty well in tournaments, and most importantly, I won the Roundtable Arena for the week. I beat Scott. Speaking of the Roundtable Arena, I don't want to kind of jump the gun here, guys, but spoiler alert, we're having a special Halloween-themed show next week, and we will be bringing on Mr. Jason Aguirre, who I am in the Roundtable Arena with this week. So one of us will get to,
some bragging rights.
Get on the other one next week.
Nice. Yeah. Good stuff.
So I'll be posting that lineup, our lineups here in the Roundtable group. Just vote on who you think's going to win, and you might be in the Roundtable next week.
Definitely. Gerson, man, how'd your week go last week?
Oh, I killed it. I mean, something that just kept coming back in the back of my head, like coming back to me, is when you asked me, hey, man, you got to convince me on this Matt Ryan play. And I was like, oh, crap. Yeah. And then I tried to convince you, and it worked out for me.
Yeah.
I had him in a lot of my GPP roster. But the roster that I'm more proud of, besides making a couple grand or whatnot, is the one that in the Fantasy Pro Daily Fantasy Accuracy Cup that we had, Jeff.
Yeah, nice.
I played second in that, and that made me really happy because I'm trying to rep going for 2, so yeah, I'm pretty happy. I mean, they reached out to me. Supposedly they're going to post some kind of like a 2-paragraph article on 2 plays that I like this week. So look out for it on fantasypros.com on Saturday. I believe I can't say his name, but yeah.
Yeah, so what Gerson's talking about is because me and Gerson are rankers for Fantasy Pros, they have a accuracy contest that they put out for DraftKings that all the rankers and Fantasy Pro guys are all in there. I think there's about 80, 90 of us in there. And each week we play, go against each other. And I think Gerson, finished second this week. So awesome. I think he's definitely finished the highest of all of us. My teams last week, I was terrible. I mean, my lineups were in the tournament. None of them cashed. Going into the late games, I was out of the cash in cash games, but thankfully, Mr. Myles Gaskins came through for me with just enough points that I was able to sneak into my cash games, saved my week.
You were following that.
Oh my God, I was like, Gaskins is. I mean, here's my cash lineup. So I had Tannehill, he did good. Madison busted. Mike Davis busted. Allen Robinson busted. Galladay was okay. Claypool was okay. Irv Smith was okay. Steelers defense really saved me, 18 points there. But then Myles Gaskins come through and he was pretty low owned. I thought he'd be higher owned than he was. He managed to sneak me into my cash games and save my week. So definitely.
They have the big dog.
Yeah, definitely. I needed some Myles Gaskins in my life to save me, and he definitely came through. All right, like we mentioned, we got a ton of stuff to get to. Let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
All right, let's talk those quarterbacks. Gerson, I'll go to you first. Who do you got in your top-tier quarterbacks?
My number 1 quarterback is Kyler Murray. Now, I'm going to play him in GPP, but it's more to get that correlation back with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. That's the only way I can get exposure to that game being cheap. But with all the value that opened up, I think that it opened up more opportunity. But Kyler Murray has a 26 Vegas implied total, the great matchup, 29th overall in DVOA, and coming in at the highest, I believe, owned quarterback right now. So in Seattle, I mean, we know the pass funnel defense, they're really good against the run, really bad against the pass. Is that how you say it? Pass funnel? I can't remember. But anyways, I'm going to have a lot of Kyler. We have the rushing upside, and hopefully we get that passing upside. I mean, he only had one game over 300 yards, but he got 380. But he met 3.5 times value in almost every game this year, so he makes a good GPP play.
Good stuff. Tim, you called this guy out last week. Unfortunately, he had probably his worst game of maybe his career. But talk about your boy.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers. I'm going back to him this week. Last week was pretty rough. There's definitely no doubt about that. I definitely sunk some money into that game that we're not going to talk about. But I'm going to go right back here, and it's because the Texans defense is just so bad. They made Ryan Tannehill look like an all-pro last week. They can't stop anybody. And, Rodgers has been having such a good year up until last week that I just feel like he's going to come in pissed and just throw 4 touchdowns. So you definitely are going to want exposure in tournaments. I do like Kyler, too. He's also probably my favorite guy, but I just love when Rodgers is pissed off, so he very well could go for 4 or 5 touchdowns this week, and you're definitely going to want exposure there.
Definitely, and the only guy I have on there, obviously, is Russell Wilson on the opposite side of that Kyler Murray game. This game was moved to the prime time, but it's still going to be on the main slate. Luckily, I was afraid it would take it off the main slate, but they decided to keep it on the main slate, so I think this game is going to be a popular game for sure, and I think everyone's going to have a lot of this late game. So, but Wilson, obviously against Arizona at 8K. A lot of points will be scored in that game. I'm sure it's one of the highest Vegas totals on the slate. And so Wilson, you can't go wrong with him. I think he's the most expensive quarterback on the slate, but he definitely got some good stacked options there as well. So those are the 3 guys I'm looking at: Kyler, Wilson, and A-Rod as well. Let's move down into the mid-tier.
They have the 3rd highest total on that game.
3rd highest total.
Seattle's the 2nd highest total.
I thought it would have been higher than that, but yeah, okay. All right, let's move down.
They're basically tied for 2nd, really. I mean, it's only 2 points from 1st. They're all, 55 and above. It's
Gotcha.
It's
pretty close.
Don't overlook Patrick Mahomes. It's not a very good correlation, though. I mean, you'll be running it back with like Tim Patrick. Is it Tim Patrick Jr. or Tim Patrick? I don't know. But just don't overlook him. I mean, he's in play, but I feel like these are the slates where people kind of they overlook him, and then he breaks the slate.
Yeah, I can see that.
Definitely.
I have another bring back candidate we'll get to later in the show.
All right, good stuff. All right, let's move down into the mid-tier, Gerson, and talk about the rookie quarterback you got on your list there.
Oh, rookie quarterback. He's definitely not playing like one, though, that's for sure.
That is for sure.
Justin Herbert, this guy either had the best luck in the world because it took a punctured lung for Tyrod Taylor to get benched, and this guy, right before tip-off, hey, by the way, you're the starting quarterback today. Get in, That was crazy. But, he's done well this year. He got 27 points last week, or against New Orleans 2 weeks ago. 24 points against Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay is not we just saw what they did to Aaron Rodgers. That's a stout defense.
Yep.
So, this week he's going up against, I like to say, a pretty bad defense. 32nd overall in DVOA pass and 22nd in DVP. His value is pretty good for me. I love his stack. That's what I love the most. You can put in, I hate doing this. Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, Mike Williams, and then run it back with like DJ Shark, LaVisca Chenault, or hell, Keelan Cole, I guess, right? Yeah. But it's just a really cheap way to get a really high scoring affair. Right now they're at 49 points, and Chargers are favored by 7. Now I understand people are gonna say, but the Chargers are a run team. Yeah, they can be a run team, but how cheap their stack is, it can be a GPP shootout. Minshew can swing it, and the Chargers defense is not as good as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to target this game. I'm going to have a lot of Herbert this week. Hopefully it works out.
Yeah, Jacksonville's just really bad. It's a long way of saying it, like Gerson just said, but they're 32nd DVOA against total and against the pass. You just pick on them every week. They're just terrible. They can't stop anyone. Move along, play Herbert.
Yep.
Unless your name is Matthew Stafford and you can't do shit against them.
Yeah, it was the Swift game, man. I hope y'all played the stick call last week. If you did, he was in the Millie Maker lineup. Every once in a while, we got to hit on one of these stick calls.
Yep,
so.
Definitely. Tim crushed
played Swifty last week.
Tim crushed the sit call last week for sure. All right, Tim, you have Herbert in your mid-tier as well. Only one you have in your mid-tier. So let me give you one of my mid-tier guys.
I had a guy in the top tier that we didn't talk about. He have it listed as a mid-tier. So I do want to talk about it. I don't want to skip over to Deshaun Watson. I definitely want to talk about him because on the other side of that game, as Gerson just mentioned, Tampa Bay showed that Green Bay Packers defense is not really that good. I think they're currently, 30th DVOA against the run in the pass. They can't really stop anybody. I think Houston's going to easily be able to score. This is my favorite game of the week. Not a shocker. It's the highest over-under, but I think you want exposure on both sides of this game. And so, Watson can get there with his arm and get there with his legs. At, what is he, right? $7K. He's going to have, a lot of people are going to be playing Kyler or paying up for Wilson. So I think you may get Watson, and he's 6,800, probably a little bit lower owned than he should be considering all the options we have this week.
Yep, I love it. I love that call there. My call is Tannehill. If you look at Pittsburgh's defense right now, they're number one against the run. They show up better this week, DVOA, than they did last week because they really put it to the Cleveland Browns last week and kind of inflated those passing defensive numbers. But they are weaker against the pass, and I think that they can slow down Derrick Henry and force Tannehill to pass a little bit more. And I think Tannehill is shown that he's good enough to beat those defenses, and I think that he's got enough weapons to do so. He gets Corey Davis back. We know Jonnu Smith's going to be healthy. Of course, AJB is back. He's healthy, so he's got a full complement of weapons there, and I think Tannehill can be a good sneaky play at 6.2. Probably lower ownership than some of those mid-tier guys we talked about.
I don't know, man. I won't have to disagree on this one because Lewan is out, and they're going to blitz the shit out of Tannehill to make sure that they're going to, that could hurt him. And, while Tannehill is a very, what do you call it, agile or mobile quarterback, I worry that they're going to pressure him. But one thing that does help Tannehill, Bud Dupree is out.
Yeah.
I think he tore his ACL last week, right, or something like that. But it probably helped him because he was like the heart and soul of that defense. Oh no, what's his name? TJ Watt.
Yeah, TJ Watt.
Pretty good too. But Bud Dupree was like the Ryan Shazier of that defense. But it's hard for me to swallow Ryan Tannehill in this environment.
All right, we keep poo-pooing Tannehill. I think he's gonna prove us that he's a legit quarterback right now. I think I'm gonna play him just because of that, Gerson. Just because you said not to, I'm playing him for sure.
Yeah, right.
Did you say poo-pooing?
Yeah, you're poo-pooing Tannehill.
Yeah. Oh, that joke all the way.
All right, let's move down into the value tier, and I'll go to you first this time, Tim. Who you got in your value?
I think there's really only two valued quarterbacks that I see, and we basically all have the same guys. So I'm going to take the guy that Gerson doesn't want to talk about, and that's Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's looked pretty good this year. I think that system, with the Joe Brady system, has really kind of improved him as a passer. And then over the last couple of weeks, we've been able to see him using his legs again. So, the Saints defense obviously gives up mostly yards through the pass. They're not going to give up a lot of running back yards. I expect Teddy to throw for close to 300 yards in this game. We know he also has some great stacking options. We have, options to bring him back with. And, it's kind of the quote-unquote revenge game, right? Teddy coming back to New Orleans. So I think it's going to be either one of those things where they figure out how to shut him down or he goes in there and lights it up. So in tournaments, you want that boom or bust, so I want Teddy Bridgewater.
Nice.
I don't really think it's a cash play, but I want him in tournaments.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. And Gerson, you got another rookie on your list there. Talk about Mr. Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Joe Burrow. I mean, earlier in the season, he already played this defense guy. I mean, earlier in the season, he tore him up on a Thursday night football. I remember this game because that was like one of the few slates that I played showdown.
Yep.
He got 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interception, and he got 61 pass attempts. 61. That is insane. He got 28 points in that game, too. So, I mean, that defense hasn't really changed too much. Same defense out there, But this time it is at home. I know we really haven't done this whole home and away thing, but I think it makes more of a difference for him. And he's 5,500. That is so cheap. And I love his stack. The reason why I didn't want all these values to open up because then you have to decide, do you want a value quarterback, a value stack, or do you just want to pay up for the stud wide receiver? It's going to be a very hard slate to digest. But 5,500 with the guys like T. Higgins, AJ Green, and Tyler Boyd, and then bring it back with OBJ. And I'm not playing Landry. That guy has a broken rib, and he hasn't been good in decades or years.
All right, yeah, I'm with y'all both. I have those guys in my value tier as well, so you both took the guys that I had, so let's move down into the tight ends.
Did somebody say tight ends?
All right, Gerson, I'll go right back to you.
Jeff's on his drops tonight.
Yeah, I'm on my game tonight. I hit the drops this time. Gerson, let's go right back to you. You got two guys in your top tier. Pick one of them.
I didn't highlight them, but okay. No, I'm just kidding. Travis Kelsey, I mean, in a game environment like the one he's in, I always say pay down, though, right? I always pay down. I hardly ever pay up, but Travis Kelsey versus the Denver Nuggets, the Denver Broncos. He is 6,300, very pricey, but the thing that really stands out is that he's the highest owned tight end at 14.7. Now, the 14.7% of people are the ones that don't know that you're not supposed to pay up for tight end, but no, I'm just kidding. You can play him. He's in a great matchup. I mean, they rank 16th against DVP, against tight end. Patrick Mahomes is focusing on Travis Kelsey and Tyree Kale, it seems like. If they're not running the ball with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they're passing the ball straight to them. And I don't think Sammy Watkins is going to play again this week, so
yep.
Travis Kelsey is definitely a good option.
I love it. Tim, who you got in your elite tier there? Anybody that he hasn't talked about already?
That was it.
Kelsey.
I was hoping he'd take the other guy so I could talk about Kelsey. But no, I actually want to talk about something we didn't talk about with Mahomes. We have to bring it up when talking about Kelsey. And could be our first snow game of the year, gentlemen. How have we not talked about this?
Good point.
All right? This could be the first snow game of the year. Right now it's projected, I've seen anywhere from light snow to heavy snow. But this could be the first time we see, these offenses slugging through. And this is Denver, right? So this is mile high. This is going to be real snow. This isn't some flurries. So I'm quite interested to see how both of these offenses operate in the snow. So For me, I love Travis Kelsey as a tournament play, but I am not playing him anywhere near my cash lineups.
Good point.
Because I think this could be a ground and pound type game.
Yep, I like it. The only guy I had in my elite tier that's not mentioned is the other elite tight end. Basically, George Kittle. You can't go wrong with George Kittle. 6.5. I mean, 2 weeks ago he had 15 targets, 15 catches. I mean, that's ridiculous numbers right there for a tight end. But like Gerson mentioned, I too like to pay down at tight end, so I don't think I'll be getting up to Kittle unless I'm in some tournament lineups and I'm trying to force him in there. But Kittle and Kelsey basically are the two ones there. Gerson, I have a question directed right at you, actually, from the chat. It's from Brian. Brian Clark wants to know, is Waller forgotten? Are we not playing Waller this week?
Not this week for me. Tampa Bay is a pretty stout defense. I said it all year, and I even put it in my Fantasy Pros ranking. I had Tampa Bay as a top 5 defense, and that team is only getting better. I mean, they just signed Antonio Brown. I mean, 6,100. I can't swallow that price for Darren Waller. They're going to put pressure on Derek Carr, and there was that, what's his name, Brown, or what, the tackle, got COVID.
Oh yeah, got COVID. Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what the hell they're going to do with the other 4 offensive linemen they sent home, but I think I saw that they're okay. But
yeah,
hey, here's a preview. Play Bucks D. No. But seriously, though, Gerson just made a great point. I actually read a stat last week that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense this year is 14% better than any other defense, which is the highest number since the Broncos the year they won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning.
Wow.
So it's just insane how good that defense is right now. Like, I was telling my buddies last week, I was like, I don't know about the Packers, man. I don't know. And they're like, come on, man, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's going to kill him. And I'm like, that Bucks D. I kept pouring money in, but that Bucks D is legit. If there's anything you else needed to see, that's it.
Yep.
It just made me laugh. A lot of people ask why Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay? I'm like, I think that's perfect for him. A lot of weapons, a very up and coming defense. Of course, everybody just watches offense, right? Nobody cares about defense. They're not nerds like us, but pass on Darren Waller this week.
All right, so let's move down into the mid tier. Tim, who you got in your mid tier?
Well, probably one of my favorite options this week is Noah Fant. He's finally healthy. He's going to be coming back. And as I just mentioned, I expect this to be a snow game. So I think that they're going to game plan around a bunch of short passes. I could also see that as a good reason to play Henry. But I think that he probably makes the best bring back candidate if you're not going to play Tim Patrick in cheap stacks. And I also think that with a couple of the other more popular options around him, he won't carry nearly enough ownership. This is somebody that was getting a ton of targets before he got hurt. He had 10 targets in the game against Tampa Bay. So, I mean, they were feeding him targets, and I think he's going to go right back to that type of role this week against Kansas City.
I love it. Gerson, who you got in your mid-tier?
Hunter Henry. Like I said, I want to stack Herbert. And one of my favorite pay down for him is Hunter Henry. He's 4,500. They rank 25th overall versus the DVP versus the tight end. Jacksonville Jaguars. But he's coming out as a great value for me. He's the number 1 value tight end I have. And that's even with the news of, I'll say it later on, I guess. But yeah, it makes too much sense. I mean, we pay down for tight end. Hunter Henry's going to get a target. He's been getting a lot of targets this year. He had 8, 7, 4, and 8. And the one time that he only got 4 targets, what do you know, against Tampa Bay.
There you go. All right, so yeah, in my mid-tier, I have Mr. T.J. Hawkinson. Against Atlanta. Atlanta just bleeds points to basically every position, and Hawkinson at 5,000 even. This will be a high-scoring game, obviously. Matthew Stafford likes his tight ends. This year at least, he seems to go to Hawkinson quite a bit. And, kind of opposite of Galladay. Galladay gets a lot of targets, and then Hawkinson's the other guy that gets a lot of targets in this offense. So Hawkinson at 5,000 is my mid-tier guy. And Gerson, you got one more guy there that's highlighted that I like I want you to talk about him a little bit because he was just, full practice today, so he will play this week.
Yeah, my boy Jonnu Smith, man. I mean, he's one of my breakout tight ends this year. I loved him. Been all over him. Okay, last week he got hurt, guys. Just forget about it, Forgive and forget. So last week was just bad. I mean, I think he was running a route out of the backfield as a running back or something like that, and he twisted his ankle, and then he was out for the rest of the game. And then what Mr. Fishker got, Johnny should have got, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of frustrating because I had a lot of Johnny. I believe Johnny and Irv Smith Jr. were my top tight ends last week. I'm going back to the well, man. If he practiced in full, he should be good. Pittsburgh ranks 7th in DVP, but like I said, Bud Dupree is a big key to that defense. And Bud Dupree usually covers those tight ends a lot. He's always on a spy, a quarterback, or covering tight end. He's all over the field, and I think that's going to take a big toll on Pittsburgh's defense. So I want Jonnu Smith, 4,700. And this is where I really, really got interested. I think this is going to change, though, because of what it's called, that he's a full participant, but his ownership is only 1%.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Can't beat that. All right. I was looking up Bud Dupree because I heard someone in the chat said Bud Dupree wasn't the one that was injured. I don't know if someone can look that up really quick.
Who was it?
They said Bush was the one that got hurt.
Oh, yeah, it was Devin Bush. That's right.
Devin Bush, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. My bad, guy.
No, I was trying to look it up while you were talking, but I couldn't get it up fast enough. I wanted to double check that, so just to make sure we get the correct information there. So it was Bush that got hurt, not Dupree. But does that change your thought process a little bit on Smith, or you think you're still good to go with him?
I think I'm still good to go with him because Devin Bush would be the one covering him, right? I believe because Bud Dupree plays middle linebacker, right?
Yeah, I think they would have switched off a little bit. They would have probably either one of them would have played,
But no, it doesn't change. I mean, I guess it changed a little bit on the Ryan Tannehill, I guess. So I guess Ryan Tannehill is more of he's okay. Sorry, Jeff.
It's all good.
I apologize.
It's all good, man. It happens. It happens, especially when you're sick. You took a nap today and you didn't get a chance to do all your research. It's all good.
No.
All right, let's move down into.
Hey, speaking of sick, man, thinking about this next guy makes me sick, and that's because he got me 2.9 points last week, and that's Eric Ebron.
Yeah.
All right. But I'm gonna tell you why I'm going back to the well on Eric Ebron. Last week, Darren Fells had his best week of the year. 6 catches on 7 targets, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Is that because Darren Fells is elite? No. It's because Tennessee funnels targets to their tight ends. Even when Darren Fells got hurt and they brought in his backup was getting catches over the middle. This team just bleeds to tight ends. I think that they're probably the sneaky worst team against tight end. They're 26th, I think, in terms of DVP currently, but I think they've also played a couple of teams that don't really use their tight end. So I think this is the week for the Eric Ebron believers for him to get 15 plus DK at 4K.
I love it. Gerson, who you got in your value?
Well, I had 2, right? No, I have 1. David and Yoku. I mean, we've been talking about all the value that opened up. He was definitely one of them. Like I said, I'd like to pay down a tight end. I think he's the most viable, cheapest play at 3,000. People forget who he was. I mean, this guy was a first-round pick for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, he's a freak athlete, too.
Yep.
Very athletic. What's his name? Hooper was getting a lot of reps, right, in the last couple of weeks. He's been getting a lot. I think he had double digit in the last 3 games, right?
I think he's actually out-targeted Landry the last 3 games, which is kind of surprising as well.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking the Landry injury is what really giving Baker more confidence to throw to not the slot, more like the tight end. And Baker's dealing with a rib injury. So those automatic, if there's certain angles he can't throw on a route, he's going to go straight down the middle to a tight end on the out or something like that. And Yoku, I mean, another thing that really kind of weird, I mean, this guy could get traded too, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, he's on the blocks. That's what that was going to be my point.
Feature him.
Either he's going to try and show up to get traded, or the team wants him to show up so they can trade him.
Yep.
Yes, so they're
probably
probably going to
shocked at that at all if they feature him a little bit, especially if this game gets out of hand.
They're going to try to sell on him, and what better way to do it against Cincinnati? I mean, this Cincinnati defense is just awful. So, I mean, David and Yoku, man, 3,000 can be a very good way to be cheap, but a lot of value opened up. So I don't know if it's necessary though.
Yeah, I agree with you on that point. So the one guy I have in there is Dalton Schultz playing at Washington, the Washington football team. Washington gives up the fifth most points to tight ends, and they have the sixth best DPOC rating, which is your consistency rating for defense. So I think Dalton Schultz is definitely viable at 3.9. A little bit more expensive than the Njoku, obviously, but I think he's got a little bit more upside as well. Anybody else we haven't talked about?
He was the only person that had any. Oh, sorry. He was the only person that seemed to have any chemistry with Andy Dalton last week. Like, he was I hate to say it because they were like, "Oh, it's the Dalton to Dalton connection," which I think is stupid. But, I mean, it was legitimately happening. It was the only time where it looked like he was on the same page as his receivers. So
and it's probably
whether
because
or not they get that together in a week. But Washington is already bad against tight end. He got, 6 targets last week, so I wouldn't be surprised if that carried over.
Yeah, and it's probably because, we've seen it before where the backups sort of have that chemistry, and both of them, to start the season, were both backups. They weren't supposed to be the starters, so they were playing, the second team, so they can have that chemistry. So, yeah, I agree. I think that can be a definite factor there. All right, anybody else, guys, before we move to the commercial break?
I don't mind Logan Thomas, but, yeah.
Logan Thomas.
Redacted.
Yeah.
I have to say it.
All right, guys, let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll do running backs and receivers. What's up, everyone? Geoff Lambert here, and I want to tell you about Society Socks. Is your sock drawer kind of boring? I know mine is. Society Socks is a men's sock subscription company that sends 2 pairs of exclusively designed socks to your door every month. These socks are made of a warm, soft, and comfortable blend of combed cotton, guaranteed to make your feet feel and look great. At the office or the bar, your socks are sure to be a hit. You might be wondering, why are they called Society Socks? Well, that's the best part. Socks are one of the most needed and least donated items at homeless shelters. Society Socks aims to change that. With every pair of socks purchased, another pair of socks is donated to homeless shelters. So on top of receiving awesome socks every month and amping up your sock drawer, you are actively making a positive change in society. With 2 surprise pairs of socks arriving at your door every month, you'll begin to grow an impressive sock collection. Visit mysocietysocks.com/armchair and enter our promo code ARMCHAIR to get 50% off your first subscription. Put an end to boring socks and subscribe today. Again, that's mysocietysocks.com/armchair and use promo code ARMCHAIR. All right, guys, welcome back. I think we get more comments during the commercial break than we do sometimes at the tight end position because everyone's talking about the combed cotton My Society socks, and I think it's pretty awesome. I had a question during the commercial break, too, from Matt. He wanted to know how that DPOC rating was working out for me. It's done pretty well, actually. It had me playing Gronk last week, which no one really had Gronk. I played Gronk. He had a touchdown I predicted he would have. Had me playing Todd Gurley 2 weeks ago, but I wouldn't have played Todd Gurley. He had 2 touchdowns that week, so the DPOC rating has definitely worked out. And Tim, what are you showing us there?
Somebody in the chat said I was drinking an Arizona green tea, so I'm showing them it's a Shiner box.
Oh, gotcha. All right, guys, let's get into these running backs.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
I got the water.
All right, Gerson, we all have the same guy in our thing, but you have him highlighted, so we will bow to you and let you talk about Alvin Kamara.
Y'all bow to me, all right. And Alvin Kamara, I mean, we got the breaking news today, and I felt like it was one on top of another one. First, it was Slant Boy here, pulled a vagina muscle. No, I don't know what he pulled. What was it? It was first his hamstring last week, and this week is his ankle, right? Or no, he pulled his hamstring this week.
I think he sprained his wrist from punching his teammate in the face.
Yeah, he punched his teammate in the face. In the week he was doing hamstring. This guy's just like the new Antonio Brown, I swear. But then Emmanuel Sanders got COVID-19 or got COVID on the IR, whatever. So he's out. And then, I mean, are we gonna get 20 receptions out of this Alvin Kamara?
It's possible. Definitely possible.
I think the most receptions by a running back is Alvin Kamara, right? At 20 in a season?
Yeah, it is, yes.
So, I mean, a lot of volume, a lot of target. And he's in my opinion, I think he's still underpriced. 7,900 for this kind of situation is very underpriced against the Carolina Panthers, who ranked 26th in DVOA versus run defense. Versus running back, and then 29th against DVP. And he has a really good matchup for me, so I'm gonna have a lot of Kamara. He should be the highest owned running back on the slate, and it's gonna be even higher now with all that injury news. So I love Kamara this week. And like Tim said, that game environment is I think it's sneaky, and I think nobody's targeting that game as much as it should. So I love that game.
Yep, I love it too. All right, Tim, the guy you have in your sheet here is questionable to play. I know you might have more of an inside track there, being a Packers fan. Talk about Aaron Jones and what could possibly happen.
Yeah, so he also got injured. I think it was a calf injury. Right now they're saying that he's more questionable than doubtful, but I don't like any part of that. I had Aaron Jones in the Roundtable Arena against Jason, and I admit I'm a little worried about that one. But all indications from what I've heard so far is that he is going to play as of now. But you definitely want to have your Jamal Williams options ready for Sunday if that ends up being the case, because I think Jamal would definitely be the play. He was already getting close to 50% of the snaps. I think they trust him much more in pass protection. I don't think they'll trust the rookie to do that. So I think it would be more of like a 70-30 split if Jones were to be out in favor of Jamal Williams.
Yeah, I like it. I was high on Jones as well too until I heard that news, and now I'm a little bit leery about it. Even if he plays, I don't think I want any piece of him. The only other guy I had on my list.
Hey, can I make one more comment? Sorry, go ahead. I'll talk about it in a minute. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I was just going to say I love Alvin Kamara this week, but with Sanders and Thomas both out, I think the Saints are going to switch back to the game plan they had a couple years ago when their defense was really good and try and go with a 2 running back approach, right? The Thunder and Lightning or whatever they called it back then when it was Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, right? So I think that we could seriously see 40-plus rushing attempts just from those 2 guys, and then they're also going to get them, work in the passing game. So I would hate if you played Alvin Kamara, even at 7,900. I hope you're playing him for the volume, because it's entirely possible that he gets vultured for the touchdown.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Put that out there.
I do think in cash you got to have him because I think he'll be so highly owned. But in GPP, I have no problem fading him whatsoever, so I agree 100%. The other guy I had on my list for Elite is more of a tournament play for me. He kind of had a bad week last week, left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. Ezekiel Elliott, it is kind of a bad matchup as well because Washington's defense is pretty good. But at 7.8 for Elliott, the upside's definitely there. He wants to have a bounce back game. He cost them the game last week, and he knows it. So I think he'll be motivated this week to show out. So at 7.8, give me some Ezekiel Elliott and some GPP lines for sure. All right, let's move into the mid-tiers, Gerson. And who you got in your mid-tiers?
On mid-tier, I have Ronald Jones. There was some news that came out that Leonard Fournette should go back to his regular role, but do we really know what his regular role is now?
The bench?
Yeah, because, Ronald Jones has been killing it so far this season. The last 3 weeks, right? We can say. Got 100 yards back-to-back 3 games in a row now, getting all the touches. Obviously, Leonard Fournette was hurt, but I don't think they're just going to toss him to the side. He had a great matchup. DVOA, they ranked 31st overall versus running back. And this is the Las Vegas Raiders. Their defense hasn't improved since, Warren Sapp was there, I guess. I don't know. So long ago. But in 31st versus DVP, I have like a running back matchup algorithm, and this is the second best matchup. I love it. I hope this ownership is, because it's at 2.8% ownership. Yeah. And if I can get Ronald Jones at 6,200 and put him as one of my contrarian running backs, I'm going to get a lot of him.
Yeah.
Everybody is thinking about the Seattle-Arizona still being on the slate, and not enough people are thinking about Tampa Bay and Vegas being added to the slate, in my opinion. I think that game will go massively under-owned.
Yeah, good point. Good point. All right, Tim, give me one of your mid-tiers.
Yeah, I want to talk about – did we not talk about Kareem Hunt yet?
Not yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think this guy is borderline elite, which is the only reason I wanted to ask about him. He's probably one of the first guys that I'm locking into my lineups this week, and I think that only became more so with the news we got today. I think Cleveland is going to try and grind this game out. They have the superior line. They have the superior team, arguably, and he's just been getting so much work, and because he's had a couple of tough matchups, and then obviously he got kind of sat toward the end of that Dallas game, I don't think his price is as high as he should be. I think he should be in the mid-7,000s. He's at 6,800. So I think that, especially with some of the value that's opened up, you're going to want like Kamara and Hunt in a ton of your lineups, and especially if you're playing in cash.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And my note on Hunt was that in their first meeting this earlier in the season, the combination of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt had 32 carries for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Well, Nick Chubb's no longer there. Kareem Hunt can get most of that work. It's going to be a monster workload for him. So I do think Kareem Hunt is definitely a viable play at 6.8. He should be more expensive, I think. So I agree 100%. And then Chris Carson, also on your list, Gerson, go ahead and talk about him a little bit.
I think a great way to get leverage on the Arizona Cardinal game versus Seattle Seahawks is through Chris Carson. Arizona Cardinal defense is actually pretty good against the pass, and they've given Russell Wilson problems in the past. I believe last year he only got we'll check here. Last year he got 16 for 31, 50% completion, 169, a touchdown, and then 22 for 28, 240, a touchdown. I mean, those are impressive games. So I think if they have to be forced to run the ball, Carson's a great pivot at 6,400. It's just I like to find contrarian plays in high stack high environment game. Like last week, everybody was on Adam Thielen. I wanted to pivot and go to Jefferson. You got to find pivot. You got to mix your lineup a little bit. In 3 games with Arizona, one game he had a bad game. I don't know what the hell happened in this game, but he was priced 8,500. Mm-hmm. The other game he got 21 points, 22 points. So I'm not really impressed with the run defense of the Cardinals, because they ranked 10th in DVOA, but they're ranked 22nd in DDP. So I'm gonna be targeting him. I think he's gonna be lower in the 10% range, but in this game environment, I think he's a great pivot.
I love it.
I agree.
All right, Tim, who you got in your value?
So I mentioned earlier that there's a good chance that we're looking at a snow game in Denver. And so give me the guy that's at home playing in his stadium and played in snow games his entire career, except, for the short, time he was in San Diego, of course.
Other
than when he was in San Diego. But we're going to talk about Melvin Gordon. I'm not going to have a lot of him this week, but I definitely think that could be the Broncos. I expect to be the Broncos' game plan going into this game, especially if there's weather. They're going to try and take the ball out of Drew Lock's hands. They're going to give it to Melvin Gordon as many times as possible. We'll probably even see some Phillip Lindsay. Whatever he had, what did they say he had last week? Whatever. He was messed up, right? They held him out. He's fine. He'll be ready to go this week. I'm not worried about Phillip Lindsay. It's going to be the Melvin Gordon show, and they're going to give him 25 carries at 5,500.
Definitely. All right, so I have a couple guys on my value list, and I'm just going to pick the one guy that I think is going to be the lowest owned of all the ones I have listed, and that's JaMychal Hasty. Obviously, it's dependent on Jeff Wilson Jr.'s availability. If Jeff Wilson Jr. is actually ruled out, which he's been limited all week, he missed last week's game. We know the Niners want to run the ball. McKinnon isn't a guy that can carry the workload, the entire workload, so Hasty gets some work. And in this rushing offense, I mean, you could probably put Gerson back there and he'd get 5 yards per, 5.0 yards per carry with the way they run the ball. So I do think Hasty is a viable at 4.2. He's pretty cheap. He's going to be very low owned unless, Wilson Jr. gets ruled out and they talk about Hasty getting the workload. I do think he stays very low owned. So Hasty against New England Patriots at 4.2 is a viable play for me as well. Gerson, just talk about the guys you got on your list real quick so we can get to the receivers. Just kind of mention them and give us a quick stat on each one of them.
David Johnson has a great matchup. We saw what happened in Green Bay last week. Antonio Gibson, based in Dallas. Kenyon Drake, underpriced, tough matchup. Justin Jackson, I mean, is he going to get all the volume? Maybe. Joshua Kelly was questionable. I think he is going to play. But the guy we really want to dig into is Mr. Mustache. If you ever seen his mustache, you would be fucking impressed. Oh, my goodness. That mustache, I was like, wow. Giovanni Bernard opened up as a value. We know what happened with Giovanni Bernard opened up as a value. He smashes. I mean, this guy, every single year, well, since Mixon started playing, I mean, there's always a game where he comes in and just gets the touches. I mean, since 2 years ago, he faced Carolina. He got 19 points. Atlanta, 25 points. I mean, the year before that, 32 points. I mean, this guy's not a bad running back. He got paid, right?
Yep,
they paid to be a backup running back. That's very rare these days in the NFL. 4,500. I expect his ownership to climb into the probably 15 to 20%. 4,500. This is the way you're going to pay up for all these wide receivers, running back, and maybe quarterback. But I love Giovanni Bernard. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him. Right now, to give you an idea, he's projected for 16 points. He's my highest value running back right now. And it's crazy because the only guy that's next to him at that high is Mr. Alvin Kamara.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive. Yeah, if there's ever
be close to 50% owned in cash, so you got to have him.
Yeah, agreed. If there's ever a guy to have a great mustache, his name needs to be Giovanni. It just seems to fit. You know what I mean? Like if you picture a guy named Giovanni, you picture a guy with a mustache. Tim, you got one guy on your list that I got on mine as well, but I'll let you talk about it, Mr. Swift.
Yeah, man. Last week was a Swifty breakout. I was so happy. People always say sometimes teams coming off their bye, they'll take a look at their team inventory and say, who do we got here? And I think they finally realized, oh, God, DeAndre Swift is the best running back we have. But the biggest reason I'm putting him back on my list again this week is because the matchup isn't as good as the juicy one he had last week against Jacksonville, is that people think you target Atlanta with running backs. That's not true. Atlanta is a pass funnel. But if you do want to attack Atlanta with a running back, you have to use pass-catching running backs. Adrian Peterson is not going to catch passes. When they have anybody, it's either him or carry on, and I think it's Swifty week. So I think they're going to realize in this matchup they're going to want him on the field most of the time. They're going to use him out of the backfield. He may only get 7 or 8 carries, but I think he's going to get 6 or 7 targets.
Yeah, I love Swift as well. I had him on my list as well for the same thing you just mentioned. It's a great matchup with Atlanta. I think Swift is a great play. He finally broke out last week, and we hope to God that they actually looked at them and said, okay, you know what? He's our best player in the backfield. Let's get him the ball, and hopefully that pans out for us this week. All right, receivers.
And now, wide receivers.
All right, Gerson, I'm going to go to you first to talk about your guy you want on that list there.
Like, all my wives, anybody I want?
Just the one that's highlighted, man. Come on.
Okay. Tyree Kale. I mean, I like to call him Ty Freak because he's a freak. Now that you said the snow game, it makes me laugh because I think this is a perfect environment for Tyree Kale. If you ever played football in a snow game, I mean, it's usually every Thanksgiving everybody goes and plays football and it's snowing.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe in Utah, but not so much here. Where you're at, you got snow. We don't get snow here.
Oh, but they get snow in San Diego, I swear. No, Tyreek Hill, this guy, if it's a snow game, just remember a couple years, I don't know, more than a couple years ago, I think it was the Lions versus Eagles, and it was like a snow game that was like 38.
It was like a blizzard.
Something like 40. It was a blizzard. And Deshaun Jackson, speedster, just by everybody. And I consider Tyreek Hill a way better athlete than, just a better player than Deshaun Jackson. And if one thing Mahomes can do, I guarantee you can throw that. What they say the football is heavier when it's colder, right?
Yep.
He can throw, maybe 2 or 3 yards less, but he's still going to sling it. 6,400 too, guys. 6,400. That's so cheap for what Tyreek's ceiling is. And I'm going to have a lot of him. He's done well against Denver in the past. I mean, his first game versus Denver was 32 points.
Yeah, insane. All right, Tim, let's go to you. Who do you got in your elite tier?
I'm just going to talk about the two top guys real quick here. Devontae Adams and Nuke Hopkins. I think you got to go back to them this week with all the value that's popped up. I think that they're both in elite spots. As I mentioned earlier, Devontae Adams gets the terrible Houston defense, and Arizona gets even worse, Seattle, which is the a total pass funnel and the worst team in the league against number 1 wide receiver. So he had a little bit of a slow showing against the Cowboys because they purposely tried to take him out of the game by double teaming him. I think Seattle will try and play him in man, and he's going to run all over them. So if he let you down last week, sorry, but go back to Hopkins and definitely go back to Adams this week.
Yeah, I heard that he's possibly questionable, but it's D-Hop. I mean, I think he's going to play. You know, he's one of those guys.
They can't sit him. Like, they literally have to take away his helmet most weeks. He wants to play. He knows that this team has a shot, so he's going to give everything to play.
Agreed.
Great matchup, dude. Great matchup.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, the best, basically.
Yep. So I'm taking the guy on the other side of that game, DK Metcalf at Arizona, obviously 7.2. You know, this passing offense is just amazing with Russ, and I think Metcalf is the touchdown guy there. That he has the higher ceiling over Lockett. I think Lockett's playable as well, but I just love Metcalf. So give me Metcalf at 7.2. Mid-tier receivers, we have a shit ton to talk about here. So Gerson, I'm gonna go to you first. Give me a couple of your mid-tiers.
Wait. Don't overlook Stephon Diggs. He had a great matchup versus Pierre Desir. He had the best match. It's the second best matchup next to DK Metcalf or Drake or Patrick. And no John Brown, too. So I think Stephon Diggs should definitely be in your GPP player against the New York Jets. My mid-tier is, oh my goodness, just mid-tier is so sexy. Terry McLaurin, baby. It's Terry time. He's going to be matched up with Anthony Brown. One of the third best matchup in cornerback versus wide receiver ranking. I have him projected for almost 3 times value. And in this matchup, in this environment, we've seen what Dallas does. They allow a lot of points. Yes, it is Kyle Allen, but I don't know, man. Dallas is just garbage this year. Like, I think anybody can score on them.
Yep.
I don't think he sees Anthony Brown, but I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. I mean, whoever he sees, he's going to...
Yeah, nobody on that team can cover. It doesn't matter. I think they're going to try and use Trayvon Diggs to shadow him. That's what they did last week with D-Hop. I think that's what they're going to do again this week. But unless they try and double him, I don't think it makes a difference.
Agreed.
Yeah. He's 5,800. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, Tim, let's talk about one of your mid-tier guys.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier I really like Deshaun Watson. I like everybody in that Texans and Packers game. So Will Fuller. Some people are saying, okay, is Jaire Alexander going to shadow him? I do not think he is. I think much like what we're going to see with Metcalf in the Seattle game and what we're going to see with Hopkins on the other side, they're just going to play their side the whole game. Whatever side matchup they get, that's what they get. They play their side. Sometimes he'll see Cook. Sometimes he'll see Fuller. So I really like Fuller. And then another guy I really like who I just think is waiting for that breakout day, and this could be it, is Kenny Golladay. I think he had a good shot to break out last week, but obviously we saw that they just went to the running game. I think this week we see the Kenny Golladay breakout. I think he's got 30-point upside, and at 6,700, there's a lot of other really good wide receivers priced around him, so I think he'll come in at lower ownership than he should be.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we were disappointed in Kenny Golladay last week, and he still had 16 points. You know what I mean? He just needed the touchdown.
Yep.
So he's still getting the volume there, so I agree. I think Galladay's a big play for me as well at 6.7. I'll just list off the guys that I have that I like. CeeDee Lamb versus Washington. Dalton likes to throw those little short passes, and CeeDee Lamb seems to be the one that catches those passes. AJB, which, you know, with my Tannehill call, I think he's the one I want to go with the stack. And Gerson, I'll let you talk about Mr. Keenan Allen because I know he's going to be one of the highest owned players on the slate probably.
Yeah, Keenan Allen, I mean, I'm going to stack him with, what's his name, Herbert. He's going to be matched up with Trey Herndon, one of the best matchup for him. That Jacksonville Jaguars defense doesn't pressure. So I expect Keenan Allen to have all the time in the world to, get open on his route. One of the best route runners, 6.2. His price is 6,200, so great price too. He's going to be the highest. Well, no, I lied. He is right now the highest owned wide receiver at 21%. 28-point implied total. Everything matches up with him. Matchup, ownership, value. I'm going to have a lot of him.
Yep, I'm with you as well. I love Keenan Allen this week. All right, let's move down into the value tier.
I think that was the one that Jason was the most upset that I got, was Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's move down into the value tier, Tim. Who do you got some of your values?
Yeah, I'm going to go 3 guys real quick that are all pivots. Brandon Cooks, Christian Kirk, and Mike Williams. I think all three of them are in great game environments, and all three of them are going to be way lower owned than their counterparts.
Great leverage
So
play.
I think that they're all great. Yep, great leverage plays, great GPP plays. I don't know that I would play any of the three of them in cash. I know Christian Kirk is going to be very highly owned, probably would be seen as a cash play if you had to pick one of the three. But I think Kirk and Mike Williams just have amazing ceilings. Really, all three have amazing ceilings for their price and current ownership.
Yep, I love it. Gerson, you got a couple guys there on your list to talk about. Give me some of your values.
Deontay Johnson is probably my favorite value of the week at wide receiver. People forgot who he was, I guess. I mean, he had 2 bad weeks, but before that, he was getting targeted 31% of the time. His market share, that's like elite wide receiver 1 target, you know. And I don't expect him just to, have to earn his position back because he's a good enough player, you know.
You don't think he got Wally pipped?
What the fuck is that?
It's an old school baseball term that means basically he got hurt and then lost his spot. The other guy outplayed him and took his spot.
Never heard of that, but no, he's so talented. Like, he's gonna get right back in there. I think the guy that's gonna get Wally pipped is James Washington. It's gonna be Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, and Juju. I'll be honest, dude. Juju looked like trash this year. Like, he just doesn't look like what he used to be.
Yep.
But it's just Deontay Johnson, 4,200, so cheap. Going to be matched up with Malcolm Butler. The other guy highlighted was Traquan Smith. Value opened up, right? Emmanuel Sanders has COVID-19. No Michael Thomas. Traquan Smith is going to be the guy there.
Yeah, he's last man standing, basically.
Yeah. We've seen what Traquan. I mean, maybe look a little deeper through who. I don't even know who the other wide receiver after him is, to be honest.
Yeah, me either. I don't even know it, and I played Dynasty, and I still don't know who the 4th receiver in that offense is.
Yeah, but 2 weeks ago when Michael Thomas was out and he was kind of pivot to him, it was he got 4 for 4, 54 yards, 2 touchdowns. We've seen what Traquan Smith can do. He can get those long yards. He can get touchdowns. I mean, he's improved a lot over the year, and I believe Geoff had him as one of his breakout guys this year in the offseason.
Yep.
That no one was talking about, and maybe it's going to start happening right now. But
let's hope.
That's the only two. Those are the 2 guys that I'm really, really on. I mean, there's a lot, but yeah.
All right, one of the guys you mentioned, and I'm playing him just because of what you just said, that he's looked like trash this year, and that's Juju. I'm not going to play a lot of him because he has looked pretty bad. He looked like the 3rd or 4th receiver in that offense. But at 5.5, Big Ben likes his receivers. He likes to go to his guys. I think Juju can be a sneaky play there. And then Deebo Samuel, at 5K, I think he's being disrespected at that price point. I think they find ways to get him the ball in the running game. Obviously in the pass game, they show him those short passes. They do all kinds of ways to give him the ball. I think at 5K, he's definitely viable as well. And, of course, we mentioned already Tim Patrick for the Broncos at 4.6. He's outplayed Jerry Jeudy in most of the games this year. He's got back-to-back 100-yard games. I think he has 2 touchdowns or 3 over the last few games. Tim Patrick is also viable in a game that they're going to pass a ton. So it's going to be Tim Patrick's show.
What was that you said, Tim? What was that you said, Tim? Geoff can't quit the 49ers. Jameis Winston, Mike Evans. Yeah. I mean, this guy talks 49ers more than any. I mean, I know you're a 49ers.
Yeah, we keep him on the show for his 49ers takes.
Mm-hmm. That's the only reason why I'm here, just to get the 49ers takes. Tim, you got one more guy on your list I'm interested in. It's Mr. Starvin Marvin Jones. Talk about him a little bit.
It is. Yeah, this is the famous squeaky wheel narrative, man. Marvin Jones complaining that he hasn't been getting enough targets. So, I mean, he's just so cheap at 4,400, and it's because he hasn't been getting those targets. But I think this might be a scenario where they go out of their way, especially against Atlanta, who's just so bad against the pass, to give him a little bit of extra love. Kind of like there was that 1 week where Brandon Cooks got a 0, and then the next week they purposely set up plays for him. I could see something like that this week for Marvin Jones. So I want some exposure in tournaments because at 4,400, we know that if they feed him the ball, he's got 20-plus point upside, and nobody's going to own him because he's been so bad this year.
I just want to mention that I think all the wide receivers of the Cincinnati Bengals are in play for value too.
Yes, definitely play. Yeah, Higgins, Boyd. I don't like A.J. Green, but Higgins and Boyd, I'm all over them.
Yep, agreed. Yeah. All right, guys, you ready for defense? All right, I'll take that as a yes.
Defense, 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 defense.
I thought you were gonna click on it, so I was like, I don't want to talk over it.
It's all good. It's all good. Tim, you're the defense guy. You seem to always hit on defenses, man. Tell me who you got this week.
Yeah, man. I'm going, preliminary, I'm going with the Bucks. I think when they put them on the slate, they didn't account for all the COVID concerns. But this is kind of a TBA depending on how bad that Raiders line looks by Sunday. Last couple of weeks I've been paying up for defense and it's worked out, so I might pay up for the Bucks. But if that offensive line looks like it might be somewhat good to go, I'm going all the way down to the insanely, in my opinion, underpriced Washington football team. At 2,500, they get a home matchup against Dallas, whose once famous offensive line is now complete trash.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton looks like, me out there playing quarterback. So it's a terrible situation. That defensive line of the football team is going to just destroy that Cowboys O-line. I expect multiple sacks, turnover, and maybe even a defensive score. So at 2,500, as if we needed any more value this week, I think that they're going to be my go-to defense.
All right, yeah, I love that. I think the Washington football team is going to be pretty chalky, but I think good for cash as well. Gerson, who do you have as your defenses?
I have the Los Angeles Chargers. I just had my note. Jacksonville Jaguars. We what Minshew, he can get touchdowns and stuff, but he also gets turnovers.
Yep.
Minshew doesn't look as great as, he looked good, but there's times where he just looks like, what the crap, And I think the Chargers would put a couple pressure stacks on him. He's 3,400 for the Chargers defense at home. I'm not paying up this week. I don't think so. So, we've been paying up the last, 2 weeks maybe?
Yeah, 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, but this week, I don't think they've raised some elite, except for one, but I don't trust the Bills defense, to be honest. They haven't looked the same.
All right. The only defense that I have, and I'm a pay down guy. I pretty much always pay down, and that's going to be the New York Jets. I know it's tough to look at, but at 2,000, they don't have to do much. And if you look at their game logs, which I'm trying to pull up right now as we speak, sorry, I didn't have time to prep today because I was straight from work, right to the show. But you look at their game log, and they've got 6 points.
Greg Williams keeps them viable.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what it comes down to. Greg Williams and his love of blitzing keeps that defense viable for fantasy.
Agreed.
That's all, and they're 2,000 every week. So if you need the salary, just go with them.
Yep.
And they get sacked and interception. 2 sacks, 2 interceptions.
Pressure, man.
Yeah, it's a good call. 2,000. You got nothing to really lose. Well, you got money to lose, but
And we saw Josh Allen last week go back to his old ways of throwing the ball, throwing some dumb passes, throw some interceptions. So it definitely could happen for sure.
The last 2 weeks, he hasn't looked all that great when he's not playing the Dolphins, Jets, and other crappy team. I can't remember what other team.
You never quite know what goes on in some of those divisional matchups, man.
Yep.
Things are weird.
This is true.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for our stack report.
Goingfor2.com's weekly stack report.
All right, we got some great stacks this week, and Tim, I'll go to you first for your stack.
I'm going with the value stack this week. I'm going with the rookie Joe Burrow at 5,500. You can match him up with T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, or both, and then bring it back with the man Kareem Hunt.
Love it.
I think that stack for the quarterback and wide receiver is only going to cost you about $11,000. And you're under $18,000 even with the Hunt addition. So that leaves you a ton of cash to be able to fill out the rest of your lineup. And if you do Burrow and Geo to start your stack, that's only $10K. That's just an insane amount of projected points for $10K.
Yeah, I love it. Gerson, who do you have for your stack this week?
I have the other rookie, Herbert. You haven't heard. I've been saying all the plays the whole time. So Justin Herbert, Hunter Henry, Keenan Allen, and DJ Chark.
All right, I like it.
That was me. I opened the tab.
I was like, why we get this echo? So my stack this week. So last week, famously, I challenged Gerson on his Matt Ryan call, and of course, Matt Ryan goes out and just straight up beasts. I think Matt Ryan with Julio Jones is a different quarterback for some reason. I don't know what it is. He sees Julio Jones out there, and all of a sudden he becomes this great quarterback. Julio Jones expected to play again this week, so give me Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, and Julio in that stack. Then bring it back with Kenny Golladay. I think that's going to be a pretty good stack. It's going to be a high-scoring game, and I think all receivers can get tons of points there. So, all right, guys, it's time for the sick call.
And now, the sick call of the week.
And I want to just give the history of the sick call. I haven't done this in a while, but let's go back. I think it's been 3 years now. The reason we call it sick call is because Gerson made a call that me and Tim both laughed at. I think it was the Saints defense. At that point, they were terrible. He called the Saints defense as a good defense. Me and Tim laughed at him. Gerson was sick that night, and he was kind of drugged up, and we just kind of threw it to hey, Gerson's just sick. He's making crazy calls. Well, it ended up being a good call. So since then, we've been calling this a sick call. And with that, Gerson is sick again tonight. So we're going to give him the floor here. Gerson, who was your true sick call this week?
Okay, guys, when I was drugged up, it's NyQuil. It ain't freaking cocaine and methamphetamine and all that crap. Okay? Don't do it, Tim. It's Demarcus Robinson. He got targeted last week 6 times, 5 receptions, 69 yards. I think in this game environment that it's going to snow, I think he's a pretty fast guy. I mean, he gets open pretty well, too. Everybody just assumed that Mecole Hardman's going to be a thing. Mecole Hardman is Tyree Kale's backup. Demarcus Robinson is Sammy Watkins' backup.
Good point.
So that's the way you guys need to think about this from now on. Don't be playing Mecole Hardman and showdown, and next thing you know, he gets you 1 target and 2 yards. I don't know what he's gotten lately. But Demarcus Robinson, 3,400, very cheap, coming in at 1.9% ownership. So I know that's going to go up because Tim is going to tout him like no other after this call.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat, too, that he actually led the team last week in snaps, even more than Tyreek Hill had. And I think Mecole Hardman had something like 25% of the snaps, so he wasn't on the field very much at all. I think Mark Robinson had, 95% of the snaps. He only came off the field for one play. So, I think Robinson.
And Hardman only played 40.
40 snaps, yeah. So that's a huge difference there. So, yeah, Robinson's definitely the way to go. And when you're on the field with Patrick Mahomes, anything can happen. So I think it's just a good call overall. Tim, who you got for
He runs a lot of those shorter underneath routes, so I love him as a check down option this week. I think he's going to go heavily overlooked, so I want a lot of exposure to him. As a sick call, I think I'm going to be heavy on him. As Gerson just said, I'm going to tout him all over town. My sick call this week, I was going to convince Geoff to put him in his stack, and that's Russell Gage. I think he's been somewhat kind of forgotten over the last couple weeks, but I think this is a game that he's going to bounce back. Detroit is giving it up really to slot receivers, and especially those wide. They're going to focus, right, on trying to shut down Ridley and Julio best they can. But I think that Gage is going to come in way under-owned, and he's still going to be in that offense going against that terrible defense. I think my projection for him is that, he could easily see 5 or 6 targets. And what is he, 40? I think he's 4,400. Yeah, yep. 4,400. So this is a guy nobody's going to be on, I expect. He's gotten the targets in the past, even when Julio and Ridley were on the field. So, yeah, I think Russell Gage is a good.
I like it. And there's a couple sick calls in the chat that I wanted to point out. Jared Good said he likes A.J. Green as a sick call. Matt Dahl is calling out Mr. Beasley, Tim's brother from another mother, Beasley for the Bills. And then on that note, with the Bills, John Brown has been ruled out, and my sick call is going to be Gabe Davis at 3.6 versus the Jets. He's a big receiver. We saw what he can do when John Brown's not there. He gets targeted quite a bit, especially in the red zone. He was the one that got that PI call against the Rams a few weeks ago where they just basically mugged him. I think Gabe Davis at 3.6 is a viable call with John Brown definitely being ruled out. So, all right, guys, that wraps up the show. Gerson, we'll go to you first. Give us your Twitter handle where we can follow you at, your Facebook page, the whole 9.
Hey, guys, don't go all out on those sick calls either because there's a lot of good value this week. So,
yep.
You can find me at the hospital tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. I hope I get better. The Fantasy G podcast / Facebook group for DFS Roundtable. You can find me on Tuesday, Waiver Wire War Room, Sunday morning with Gladys, Jared, and Hamid. That guy's awesome, though. He wore a pink shirt, though. That's kind of weird.
Nothing wrong with pink.
Hey, real men wear pink, Gerson.
I don't know about that, man.
Hey, I want to take a moment here. Everybody just silently bow their heads for a moment and say a silent prayer for Gerson that he gets better by Sunday morning for the good he does for this community on Sunday mornings pre-lock. We need him in 100%. So I'm pulling for you, G.
Definitely.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, if y'all haven't.
Right now, I'm getting chilled over and over, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, just find me there. If you have any questions, please get on the Facebook Roundtable group, tag me, and I'll answer.
All right, good stuff. Tim.
Yeah, you can find me in the DFS Roundtable on Twitter at KetoDFS, and if I'll just give you one PSA for this weekend. This is, like I said at the top of the show, this is one of the crazier slates I've seen in a while. I love it for GPP, but I don't really love it for cash. So my recommendation this week is going to be, if you're going to play, be a little heavier on GPP, or maybe play a little bit less if you're heavy on cash.
I agree, because when there's too much value, sometimes you don't know which value to play. And if you miss on the wrong value, then you're pretty much screwed in cash games. So I agree. I think it's going to be a tough cash week. Play some more tournaments. As always, guys,
And all the money.
let me just state this, because I think, like I said, I got home and I went and took a nap, and I woke up and I was still sick. But just basically us talking about this, with all these values and everything, I think we can pay up for quarterback. Like Russell Wilson, like Patrick Mahomes, like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think it's the Kyler.
I mean, all these top guys, maybe you don't have to play Joe Burrow. Maybe you don't. Well, I'm playing Justin Herbert. But I can see like these low-owned 8,000 for Russell Wilson. I'm not paying Josh Allen. I'm not playing Josh Allen, but I guess it makes sense. I mean, Jet 2 point. Nah, damn it! Now I'm gonna play him. All right, I'm out of here, man.
We're out of here. Let's go.
All right, guys. As always, follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77, and we will see y'all next week
For the Halloween show. Go Packers!